I would love to, you kind of went right into voice matching, and we go over voice matching a lot because in a sense it's similar to creating original characters, but there's another art to it as well. Can you kind of take us through what it was like to audition for these kind of iconic characters and the pressure of what you feel like you have to live up to and also making it your own?
Oh, well, definitely with Bugs. I'll always talk about Bugs because he's my favorite. But
Yeah.
I only auditioned for him 2 times in 10 years because they've had people like someone like Jeff Bergman, who was the first guy to voice Bugs after
Yeah.
Mel Blanc passed in 1989.
Hmm.
Amazing, amazing talent, even right out the gate. And I will go down saying he was probably the best match for Mel, vocal cord for vocal cord,
Hmm.
with all the characters. He got them all. But here's the thing: like there have been others after Jeff. There was Greg Burson, and rest in peace.
Hmm.
Joe Lasky, rest in peace. Billy West. He was the voice of Bugs Bunny for Space Jam.
Hmm.
Joe Lasky was Bugs Bunny in Looney Tunes Back in Action, and they all were doing Bugs. They all got the job as Bugs. They all sound different from one another, and they all
Yeah.
sound different than Mel. But there's something about each of their performances that grabs you, that goes, oh my God, that's Bugs. Like there's
Yeah.
something interesting about being different from one another but the same. It's like,
Hmm.
it's so hard to recreate, the wheel, and why would you,
Yeah.
right? But the fact of the matter is, Bugs Bunny just turned 80. We're still talking about him. We still love him very much.
Hmm.
I can't believe I get to voice him. I've been voicing him ever since I was 9, like old enough to watch
Oh,
TV.
yeah.
But it sounded awful because I'm a 9-year-old, right? But now I'm a 40-year-old man, and that still wears Inspector Gadget. I made this actually. This is from my
Oh,
t-shirt company
awesome.
in Toronto. It's an Inspector Gadget t-shirt. Anyways, but with Bugs, it's like, you have the basics. You have at the nasally quality, but then you have the idea that Mel Blanc
Mm.
probably smoked cigarettes 24/7 in the 40s. He had a very gravelly,
Yeah.
kind of bassy voice. He kind of just sounded like this.
Yeah.
He almost sounded like Pepe Le Pew without the accent. Yes,
Uh-huh.
the skunk that chased the cat.
Yeah.
But then he had the lower gritty quality, and and he was just a wascally wabbit. But what I miss the most about Mel, and this
Mm.
is if you're an impressionist or a voice matcher, this
Yeah.
is huge because you could be so dead on with the voice, but
Mm-hmm.
that could trap you in a box where your acting
Mm.
is not going further. Because when
Yeah.
Mel Blanc was doing the voice, he wasn't like, does it sound like Bugs? He was Bugs. Like he was
Yeah.
the voice. So he didn't have to worry about messing up or matching someone. Like
Mm.
there were moments and I gotta bring the level down, in moments where in Looney Tunes where he would be just a calm regular rabbit, and then he'd do stuff like, ooh, I'm dying, like that stuff where it wasn't
Yeah.
even Bugs. The stuff where it was like, as a kid, you're like, holy shit, what was that, No, there's children here, but
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a child. But like I'd be like,
We
oh,
all are.
like that wasn't even Bugs's voice, and that was part of the charm. I wasn't so worried about sounding like him versus the
Mm.
acting like him, and I feel like that's what will sometimes
Mm.
get you the job in the end.
How do you now keep yourself sharp? And what are you doing kind of on a daily basis?
Oh well, my version of the gym is watching an hour of Looney Tunes a day, whether or not I'm working.
Nice.
Just because there's so much,
Yeah.
there's like 30 to 40 years of it that is,
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
all Mel Blanc, and it's like there's
Yeah.
stuff that I know the writers are watching. So if there's any like clues or anything that they're like trying to recreate or tip their hat to, like I
Yeah.
know exactly what the joke that they're writing, and I know what episode
Mm.
it's from, and I know it's
So smart.
it's it's a bit gratuitous and it's a lot, but I would be doing that anyways.
Is there anything that scares you taking on iconic characters? Like, do you feel a responsibility to the audience, like you said at Comic-Con? And
Oh yeah, absolutely. Again,
yeah.
like these characters, like with me, I know them like I know relatives, and you expect the
Mm.
audience these days again to be that much on the same page as you are as far as the exposure they've had to these characters, depending on how much of like a fanatic they are. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's so much at stake and so much on the line you know, I always say it's like Warner Brothers gave me the keys to the Cadillac. I'm just trying to back out of the garage without scratching it against the door, and then park it again for the next person that wants to drive. You know, it's not mine. It's not mine. Like, I didn't invent Bugs Bunny. That's the other thing. It's like, you can't become so
Yes.
precious with these characters because I didn't create it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I want to make sure there are generations that appreciate it as much as me. Like, that's the only hope I can give to people watching. And that's why I always say thanks. You know, we celebrated Bugs' 80th, but Mel Blanc passed away in 89. So I have to pay homage to people like Billy West and Jeff Bergman, because they kept the character alive and relevant enough for me to be part of the family.
She'd love to know tricks that you have for getting into character.
It's funny, when I did that AT&T project, we read the first page of dialogue, and they randomly just picked just whatever line they thought sounded like the most Bugs. And the line was, your mother rides a vacuum cleaner. You know, and that was the key line that got me, that they thought got me into the most kind of zone for Bugs. The word all right for me when I say is Bugs, all right. Like, for whatever reason, it has that peak in the valley of his voice. All right. Like that weird, like, he has the high pitch, but he has that low pitch. And that's the other thing about voice matching too. It's like, you could start real well and you have to end real well. You have to land the landing, because if you just misstep and there's something out of tune, the audience is like, "Wah!" You know, like, they're like, oh, wait a second. What
was your main character you found it difficult to find the voice for, and why was that particular role so difficult?
Oh man, anything that involves my normal voice, anything that they're just like, just use your own voice. And I'm so used to using a voice to disguise my bad acting. You know, it's when it's just me, it's like, oh man, no, me. No one wants to hear me. But it was my voice when I played Leonardo in Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.